Hello there, welcome to David's Math Hub. So for today's lesson, we will be discussing about adding fractions with common denominators, usually taught in elementary school. So the main objective is really just about understanding the concept of adding fractions with the same denominators. So we'll be showing how the rules work when you're adding fractions with the same numbers that are basically at the bottom. So when the bottom number is the same. So usually the terms that are mentioned in this lesson is numerator, which is the number on top of the fraction bar. So the top number, in other words. Denominator is the bottom number, so the number below the division bar, sorry, the fraction bar. Mixed number is when you have a whole number and a proper fraction, or just a fraction. Improper fraction is when the numerator is bigger than the denominator. Okay, let's do the first question together. So we have problem number 1. So you have 1/3 plus 1/3. Or in other words, 1/3 plus 1/3. So how this rule works is you add the numbers in the top. You do not add the numbers in the bottom. The reason being is because that bottom number represents the whole of the fraction. So you have to add the numbers in the top. In this case, you'll get 2/3. So if that does not make sense of how this looks like, why don't we use a diagram to kind of like visualize it? So some teachers like to use a diagram to show how these fractions look like so that it makes more sense for those who are visual learners. So here is diagrams of basically what we just did just now. But before I do that, I just want to note a couple of things, like I mentioned. So don't add the numbers in the denominator. The part is the numerator, so the number on the top. The whole is the denominator. So it's basically what I just mentioned as we were doing this question. So here is a visual. So you might have seen it something like this. So what this diagram represents is the one that is shaded represents the part. So 1/3. So 1 out of the 3 are shaded in. And same thing for that other 1/3. 1 out of the 3 boxes is shaded in. And now if you add them all together, you get 2 out of the 3 boxes are shaded in. So that's how you represent 2/3 when using diagrams. So hopefully what I just explained made sense. And using these diagrams kind of made an idea of how this works similarly with adding fractions. So this is a good way to show work, especially when you're showing how to add fractions with common denominators. Let's do the second question so that you guys get an idea. So this is a little bit different and you'll see why. So we have 3/5 plus 4/5. So rule is add the numerators, but do not add the numbers in the denominator. It stays the same. So if you write it, you'll get 7/5. You'll notice that this fraction is an improper fraction because that 7 is greater than 5. So you might have learned how to make these improper fractions into mixed numbers. So usually how this works, it's kind of like long division, but you'll get a remainder. So when you do this long division, you're going to notice that this 5 can go into 7 one time. And when you subtract 7 and 5, you get the remainder of 2. So to write it, it's just 1, and then you get a remainder of 2/5, because that's the number that you divided. So it's 1 2/5. So something like that. Now to write it in terms of a diagram, here's a visual. So we have 3/5 for the first one, the first diagram, and then you have 4/5 for the second diagram. Add them together, you're going to see that we have 2 boxes. The reason why we're having 2 boxes is because, like we said before, we have 7/5. So we're going to have 2 boxes that has 5 split equally. So you can see here that one represents that 5/5 or that one whole box. So you get this whole 5 right here, or the whole 1, I should say. And then the 2/5 just represents that 2 out of the 5 boxes is shaded. So this is a representation of 7/5, or which a lot of teachers use, is 1 2/5. So that's a good way to show like how this looks like when using diagrams. So that's why I like using these diagrams. So if you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments. Let's do another one together. So let's say we have 4/10 plus 5/10. So the rules are still the same. Add the numerators and keep the denominators the same. So you should get 9/10, which is your answer. Now using a diagram, 4 out of the 10 should be shaded if you guys did it, and 5 out of the 10 are shaded. Now if you add them all together, you're going to get 9 out of the 10 boxes that are shaded. So that's how you show it when using a diagram. So hopefully that made sense. Alright, so for the last couple of questions, I would like you to try this on your own and see what you can come up with. I would suggest using a diagram to help you guys. So pause the video and see what you can come up with. Okay, so you should come up with 12/9, 5 plus 7 is 12, and make it as an improper fraction to a mixed number. So you should get 1 3/9. So here's the visual with the diagram. So 5 out of the 9 is shaded and 7 out of the 9 are shaded. Put them together and you'll see here that one of the boxes is fully shaded, so 9/9 or 1, and then you have the extra 3 for the other box. So you should get 1 3/9. Alright, try this question and see what you can come up with. Okay, so add the numerators, keep the denominators the same. You should get 7/7. Keep in mind when you have 7/7 or the same number in the numerator and denominator, it will be simplified to one whole. So it would be 1. And I'll show you with the diagram. So 3 out of the 7 is shaded, and 4 out of the 7 boxes are shaded. Add them together, you'll get one whole box. That's right, one whole box is one whole. Because you can see all of the 7 are shaded in. And that makes it one whole. So the answer is 1. So if you see a question like that, that's how your answer should be like. So you should put it as 1. Alright, for the last one, see what you can come up with. And if you need more time, pause the video. Okay, so add the numerators, keep the denominators the same. You should get 10/6 equals 1 4/6. Using that long division, you should get one whole with a remainder of 4. And remember that the 6 goes into the denominator because that represents the number that you're dividing. That's your whole. Now using the tape diagram, both of them should be 5 out of the 6 boxes shaded, and one of them is going to be filled, where the other 4 will be shaded in the second box, where you're left with 2 of them not shaded. So you should get 1 4/6 as your final answer. Alright, so we have reached the end of the lesson. So what did we learn? We learned how to add fractions with common denominators, using diagrams to illustrate the fractions, and converting improper fractions into mixed numbers. So when you're learning how to add fractions, I would recommend using the diagrams because it helps, especially for those who are visual learners, to learn how this works. And I feel like it is very useful when teaching students how to learn how to add fractions, or when you're teaching them how to learn fractions in general. So if you have any other questions about adding fractions, converting fractions into mixed numbers, let me know in the comments. So thank you for joining the Math Hub, and I will see you then. Have a good day, everyone.